Hey, what's going on? Today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of beach images I took, and then we're going to be going through and showing how I edited them, kind of breaking down the masks, breaking down my global adjustments, breaking down my colors, going down the whole thing, and just kind of going through my workflow for that. So the first image, as you're seeing on screen now, is taken in Boothbay Harbor, Maine. It was taken this summer. I was on a family vacation. Pretty cool image. And now you're going to see the second image. Let's take a look. The first thing you're going to notice with this raw file is, first off, wow, this looks a lot worse than the edited version. But second, you're going to notice it's really dark. So the reason this photo is so dark is because it was shot at 1/250th and only a shot at f4. And the reason for that is, at the time, I didn't bring a tripod with me. I was just walking the beach, it started to storm, and I thought, wow, this could be a really great opportunity to take a photo. So I whipped out my camera, and I turned it on, and point, click, right? And so in order to combat any shakiness, even though I'm shooting at a relatively low focal length of 24, I still didn't want my image to come out completely motion blurry, so I shot at 1/250th. Maybe a bit overkill, but whatever. I shot at f4. That's as wide open as the lens I was using goes. I was using a f4 24-70. Shot as wide as possible at 24 millimeters, and shot at 1000 ISO. So yeah, cool, right? A little bit, maybe a little bit on the dark side. I probably could have brought my ISO up to like 1600, just to keep some of the shadows from like full clipping, but that's besides the point. I got bit up when I took this image. I was taking it, again, during the storm, and so the mosquitoes were just ridiculous. They were just ridiculous. So I'm sitting there, my knees up like this, bracketing my camera on my knees. Wow, this is hard to show. Bracketing my camera on my knees like this, and then waiting for lightning. The entire time I'm getting bit by mosquitoes. Terrible, man. Just super terrible. Regardless, it was a cool photo, so it was worth it. So let's go to the finished image here, without any of the masks turned on. So the first thing you'll notice I did was I pulled up my exposure. That's just, I'll do it on this image so you can see it. First thing I do is just see the potential of the image, right? How do I do that? Well, I pull up the exposure, I pull up my shadows so I can get all the detail out. And I'm like, okay, this is cool, right? I like how this is looking. So then what's the next step, right? Well, the next step is figuring out my calibration, my colors. So I go into my calibration and I made a couple adjustments, kind of pulled it towards a more orange and tealy look instead of that yellow and blue. And I did that using the sliders here. Then I went up into HSL and kind of toned down the colors. So you can see without the HSL, colors are a little bit too vibrant, especially the blues, since I adjusted the blue saturation channel down here. I needed to pull those blues down. After I did that, after I made my exposure adjustment, pulled my shadows up, knocked my blacks down just a little bit because I just wanted a little more contrast. Just go back to where it was. It's time to go into my local adjustments. Now, I found that the better I've gotten at editing and the more intentional I get with editing, the more I'm using local adjustments and the less I'm using these global adjustments and kind of just playing with sliders. This one was really simple, right? So I'm looking at this image. What's the first thing I notice? First thing I notice is, to me, the sky's too bright. Burning down the sky a little bit, right? Just darkening it. Literally all I did here was knock it down by about half a stop. A little under half a stop. And the next thing I did was I saw these islands were a little bit too dark for my liking. Added just a slight bit of exposure, nothing to where it's unrealistic. Just that way, if someone's looking at the image, they can kind of make out those islands a little bit more better. Then the last thing I did, so I just burnt down that sky a little, or excuse me, desaturated that sky a little bit because it was looking unrealistic. Then finally, the last step on all my images is I go into my tone curve, and I give it that little bit of punch. So this image looks, debatably, it's still a great image. I just wanted it to be a bit more dramatic, so I added just a little bit of pop using the tone curve, just basically doing an S curve. And yeah. So that's basically how I edited this image. And what you might notice is, bam, you seen the final image again? All right, well, that image has boats and stuff. This image has boats and stuff, and that image doesn't. I fixed that using the Photoshop generative fill tool. So that's awesome. That's an awesome tool. Literally just go in there and mark lasso tool, marquee tool. I don't remember the name of the tool. Whatever the like drawable selection tool is. Go in there, select it. Bam, it's gone. So that's how I did this image. Pretty simple, right? Not very complicated at all. So yeah, that's how I edited the Boothbay photo.